Have you heard about Burundi? If the answer is no, you are not alone. This small country nestled in the heart of Africa often goes unnoticed in news, geography books, and even conversations about global poverty. But behind the silence of the world, there is a brutal and at the same time incredibly human reality. A people that fights every day for survival, dignity, and a future that always seems to escape by the hands. Burundi is not only the poorest country on the planet according to current indices. It is a muffled cry of millions of people who continue to live, love, and dream amid the almost absolute abandonment of the rest of the world. Imagine living on less than $1 a day. Now, imagine not for a week or a month, but for a lifetime. This is the routine of much of the population of Burundi. Children who walk for miles to fetch water, whole families sharing a plate of food per day, and schools where teachers teach with what they have, even if what they have is just the will. The reality in Burundi is hard, raw, and unthinkable for many. But at the same time, it's full of examples of resilience that will stir you up. And maybe after watching this video, you will never see the world the same way again. What you'll see next is not fiction. It's not exaggeration and much less sensationalism. It is a naked and raw portrait of a forgotten country, but that has much to teach us about humanity, strength, and hope. So, if this type of content touches you in some way, if you believe in the power of information to transform realities, already subscribe to the channel right now. Leave your like, activate the notifications bell, and comment below what most impacted you in this video. This helps not only the channel, but also this message to reach more people. Because Burundi needs to be seen, it needs to be spoken, and above all, it needs to be remembered. Where is Burundi and why almost no one hears about it? Burundi is a country that seems to have been forgotten by time, and, even more so, by global interest. Located in East Central Africa, it is small in territory, but immense in stories that rarely gain space in the major media outlets. While the world turns its eyes to more mediatic conflicts or crises in world powers, Burundi remains in the shadows, silently fighting against hunger, misery, and instability. It is as if the pain of those people did not have enough echo to cross borders. The invisibility of Burundi is not only geographical, but also political, since independence, conquered in 1962, the country has faced an almost uninterrupted sequence of crises, civil wars, coups d'état, ethnic disputes, and a completely weakened economy. All this has contributed to the fact that Burundi is plunging into a vicious cycle where poverty is not just a symptom but an ingrained reality. And when the pain becomes routine, the world stops paying attention. The most surprising thing is that, despite all this, the people of Burundi continue. They continue to live, create, believe. There is an invisible force that moves every man, woman, and child in the midst of adversity. It is as if there was a silent resistance, a kind of hope stuck in the chest of those who have already lost almost everything but the will to continue. And that is what makes Burundi so extraordinary. Understanding this scenario, it is clear that Burundi should not only be cited on lists of extreme poverty. It must be studied, understood, and, above all, remembered. Because each invisible nation we ignore represents a part of our humanity that we are choosing not to see. And maybe, just maybe, when we turn our eyes to Burundi, we begin to change not only their reality ... but also our way of seeing the world.
The daily reality, survival, hope, and contrasts. Life in Burundi is marked by a constant battle for survival. For millions of Burundians, each day begins with basic uncertainties. Will there be food today? Will there be drinking water? What for many is a common routine, in Burundi it becomes a daily mission. And the scariest thing is that this reality is not limited to a part of the country. It spreads like a shadow that touches the majority of the population. With a rate of extreme poverty exceeding 70%, Burundi is a living picture of global inequality. Despite all this, the solidarity between communities in Burundi is something that deeply impresses. Families share what little they have, neighbors take care of each other, and even in the most adverse situations, it is possible to find a sincere smile, a gesture of kindness. A child playing with an improvised toy made of PET bottle. These moments, simple as they may seem, are the small victories that sustain Burundi's soul and show that human dignity can flourish even in the driest soil. Schools, often without books, desks, or blackboards, continue to function. Teachers teach with passion, even if they do not receive regular salaries. Children walk for hours to study, even though they may not have anything to eat when they come home. Burundi teaches us that hope does not depend on circumstances, but on the will not to give up. It is a powerful reminder that even in chaos, there is still room for dreams and that those dreams are often the only inheritance you can leave. This contrast between the harshness of reality and the strength of the spirit is what makes Burundi impossible to ignore when you really look. Not a place to feel sorry, it's a place to be inspired. Because if there is beauty in resisting, Burundi is one of the most beautiful countries that exist.
Culture, customs, and the strength of a resilient people even in the face of so many difficulties. The culture of Burundi remains alive, pulsating. The traditional music still echoes in the villages. The drums resound at parties and ceremonies, and the colorful costumes reveal a pride that survives misery. In the midst of the struggle for survival, there is celebration. In the midst of abandonment, there is identity. Burundi shows us that a people can be poor in resources, but infinitely rich in soul. The cuisine, simple and nutritious, reflects ancestral wisdom. Dishes such as ugali, a kind of thick porridge made from corn, and ibaharage, cooked beans, are common at meals, and often represent everything a family has to eat in the day. Yet there is gratitude, and where there is gratitude, there is abundance, not material but spiritual. Burundi teaches us that even with little, it is possible to keep the heart full. Religious celebrations, both Christian and traditional, have a central role in everyday life. They offer solace, direction, and often a rare moment of collective communion. Faith is an invisible pillar that sustains the people of Burundi in times of despair. It is not a passive faith, but an active force that manifests itself in actions, smiles, and extended hands. This reinforces a truth that we often forget. In places where almost everything has been taken, spirituality becomes refuge and resistance. This strong cultural fabric is what keeps Burundi on its feet. And this is precisely what the world needs to know. Not just poverty, but humanity that flourishes even in the most difficult conditions. Because when we look at Burundi with respect, without judgment, we find that perhaps they are not the poorest. Perhaps we are impoverished because we do not know how to see the beauty that exists in the essential. What we can learn from Burundi and how we can help Burundi, an uncomfortable mirror. It shows us what happens when the world turns its face and chooses not to see. But it also shows us something even more important, that the true wealth of a people lies in its capacity to resist, to love and to dream even when everything seems lost. What we learn from Burundi goes beyond numbers or statistics. It's a lesson in humanity that touches the bottom. You may think, but what can I, on the other side of the world, do for Burundi? The answer begins with consciousness. When we know a reality, it becomes part of us. And when something touches us, it is impossible to simply ignore. Sharing this video, commenting, talking about Burundi with others, all of that has an impact. Because the more we talk, the more Burundi becomes invisible. And if you feel like doing more, there are serious initiatives, committed NGOs, local projects that need support. But the first step is always the same: information. Through it, we build bridges, and Burundi needs bridges. bridges of empathy, solidarity, and recognition, because no one should be condemned to oblivion simply by being born in the wrong place of the map. Burundi is much more than the poorest country on earth. It is a territory invisible to the eyes of the world, but full of stories that deserve to be told. Throughout this video, you have known more than cold numbers or alarming statistics. You have delved into the real lives of people who, even surrounded by scarcity, continue to spread strength, culture, and humanity. What we see here is not about material need only ... about resistance, about a people that continues to flourish even when everything around them seems to collapse. Each scene, each story, each look from Burundi invites us to reflect on what really matters. While many run after excesses, there is the basic value: a plate of food, a hug, a little peace. Burundi shows us how the essence of life can be simple and deep at the same time. And if the whole world stopped for just a few minutes to listen to what Burundi has to say, maybe we would rethink our priorities, our privileges, and even our silences. Burundi may even seem distant on the map, but now, after everything you've seen, it's closer than ever. It's in your thought, in your emotion, in your memory, and that's where the transformation begins. When we talk about Burundi, we give a voice to millions of people who have long been silenced by neglect. And the fact that you have stayed so far is already an act of resistance against this global indifference. So, if this story touched your heart, if Burundi has awakened something inside you, don't let it die with the end of this video. Subscribe to the channel to continue exploring stories that the world prefers to ignore. Enjoy this video so it reaches more people. Comment on your reflection, because your voice also counts. And activate the bell to receive each new content that brings to light realities like this. Let's turn attention into action together. Because Burundi needs to be seen, it needs to be remembered, and it needs, more than ever, to be heard.